Imagine this. You leave the team that shaped your legacy, chasing something greater, maybe your 8th title, maybe a new purpose. The cameras flash, the headlines roar, Hamilton joins Ferrari. But behind the noise, behind the applause, a storm was brewing, because while Lewis Hamilton was posing in red, engineers in silver were quietly testing a machine that could change everything, not by 1/10, not by half a second, but by 4 full seconds per lap, a number so absurd it shook the foundation of the paddock. And just when it seemed like Ferrari had won the headlines, Mercedes may have just won the war. But here's the twist no one saw coming. Did Hamilton unknowingly abandon the most powerful car F1 has ever seen? Or did he see the trap before anyone else? During the pre-season tests, the Mercedes W17 didn't scream dominance. And that was precisely the point. George Russell's lap times were solid, clean, almost conservative. No purple sectors, no dramatic headlines. Meanwhile, the spotlight shifted elsewhere. Lewis Hamilton, now in Ferrari red, adapted quickly, looked comfortable, confident. The narrative was simple and seductive. Ferrari is back, Hamilton made the right call. But here's where experienced eyes started to hesitate. Engineers, analysts, former drivers, people who read between the data, noticed something odd. The W17 wasn't fighting the track. Tire degradation was unusually low. Power delivery looked smooth, almost restrained. The car behaved like it was operating below its true potential. In Formula One, when something looks too controlled, alarms quietly go off. Then came the comment that changed the tone of the conversation. Juan Pablo Montoya, never known for careless words, suggested that Mercedes might be sitting on a massive performance margin. He didn't present it as a confirmed fact, but as an interpretation from what he was seeing and hearing. His number caught everyone's attention, up to 4 seconds per lap, not tenths, seconds, an eternity in modern F1. Now, let's be clear. No official data confirms that number, but the reaction it triggered tells its own story. Suddenly, rival teams stopped smiling. Conversations shifted from lap times to regulations, from setups to certification procedures. Because in this sport, you don't panic over rumors unless they touch something real. Mercedes, for their part, stayed calm, almost too calm. No aggressive denials. No loud counterattacks, just confidence. And history tells us this isn't new. In 2014, they surprised everyone with hybrid dominance. In 2020, they introduced DAS, legal, clever, and short-lived. Each time the pattern was the same, innovation first, controversy later. So here's the uncomfortable question that began circulating in the paddock that week. What if the W17 wasn't underperforming, but deliberately holding back? And if so, who was that illusion really meant for? Then came the real twist. Between February 8th and 10th, the paddock, usually fragmented by rivalry, began murmuring in unison. Ferrari, Honda, and Audi, 3 titans of engineering and ego, suddenly found common ground. Their target? Mercedes. More specifically, the W17's engine. At first, the accusations were subtle, quiet meetings, cautious language, but then something happened that no one expected. Red Bull, the very team that had been battling Mercedes tooth and nail for years, joined the coalition. Not as a silent observer, but as a loud and public voice. They too demanded answers from the FIA, and with that, the unthinkable became real. Formula One's fiercest enemies were now aligned, not for competition, but for containment. At the heart of the protest was one term that started echoing through the halls of the FIA: dynamic compression trick. A suspected technique allegedly allowing Mercedes to register a legal compression ratio when cold, and unleash something else entirely once the engine reached full race temperature. In simple terms, a motor that transforms completely within the gray zones of legality. On paper, untouchable. On track, untouchable. and untamed. This wasn't just technical scrutiny. It was a political offensive. The complaints weren't funneled through backdoors. They came during official briefings. Ferrari engineers, Honda delegates, even Red Bull representatives, all demanding an urgent re-evaluation of the certification standards for 2026. The FIA, now under siege, had no choice. It opened an internal review. For the first time in years, the very process of how engines are tested and certified is up for debate. Which raises an even bigger question. If Mercedes truly discovered a legal way to bypass the power limits, how many other teams have been left behind before the race has even started? To understand how deep this goes, we need to rewind. Back in 2009, a modest team called Brawn GP flipped Formula One on its head with a double diffuser. It was a legal innovation, barely. And by the time the rest of the grid caught up, they'd already secured a world title. It was the perfect storm, brilliant engineering hidden beneath silence. Sound familiar? Jump forward to 2020, Mercedes again, this time with the DAS system. Dual-axis steering, legal, ingenious, then banned. Why? Because it was too powerful, too controversial. The same story repeated in 2021 with Red Bull's flexible wings. The pattern is undeniable. Every few years, someone breaks the system from within. But 2026, this isn't a marginal advantage. This isn't a clever steering trick or a wing that bends. This is a total transformation, camouflaged in plain sight and potentially legal. If Montoya's claim holds, we're not talking about milliseconds, but full seconds per lap. That's not innovation, that's obliteration. And here's where the plot tightens. Lewis Hamilton, the face of Mercedes for over a decade, is not in that garage anymore. He's now wearing red. He walked away from that machine, from that power, from what might be the most dominant car ever built in the hybrid era. And the question everyone's avoiding is, why? Was it timing, ego, faith in Ferrari's vision? Or did Hamilton see what was brewing? A power play so volatile, so politically dangerous, that staying would mean being complicit. According to insiders close to the Scuderia, Ferrari's already working to replicate the alleged compression system for 2027. That isn't rumor, it's reaction. Quiet testing, shifting investments, rearranged timelines. If true, that would confirm one thing. Mercedes lit a fire no one is willing to let die. And if the sport doesn't act soon, is this the beginning of another regulatory war? Or something even bigger? A new era where the rules themselves are just illusions? What happens if Hamilton, the man who walked away, turns out to have known everything all along? Here's where it gets painful and personal. When Lewis Hamilton signed with Ferrari, the world saw legacy, passion. A driver chasing history with the sport's most iconic team. But now, that move feels different, because behind the curtains, Mercedes was preparing something colossal, something silent, something explosive. Multiple paddock sources, some even within Ferrari, now admit it. Mercedes didn't just find an advantage. They waited until Hamilton was gone, waited until their legend, their world champion, their anchor, left the building. And then, they lit the fuse. Was it strategic? Coincidence? A twist of fate? No matter how you spin it, the image is haunting. George Russell potentially lifting a championship in a car developed under Hamilton's guidance, while Lewis watches in red, possibly slower, definitely older, and with no guarantees. But here's the twist. What if Lewis knew? What if his move wasn't about leaving power, but walking away from what power was becoming? A silent protest, a statement, a rebellion against the direction of the sport. Because what Mercedes is doing may be legal, but is it racing? Some insiders suggest Hamilton had wind of the trick, that he questioned its ethics, that he saw the shift not just in speed, but in soul, that Ferrari, despite their chaos, represented tradition, And Hamilton chose heart over horsepower, and that changes everything. It reframes the narrative. Hamilton, not as a victim, but as a visionary, not as someone who missed the moment, but someone who read it before anyone else. A driver who walked away from the empire and might now lead the resistance. So now we ask, did Hamilton give up his 8th title, or did he trade it for something bigger, something that might define the next era of F1? And if he did, will history see him as the man who lost the championship, or the man who saved the sport? So now it's your turn. After everything you've seen, the silent 4 seconds, the political storm, the coalition of giants, and Hamilton's seismic leap into the unknown, what do you believe? Was Lewis Hamilton outplayed by the team he helped build? Or did he outplay them all by choosing a battle that goes beyond speed, a battle for the heart of Formula One? Leave your thoughts in the comments right now. Not tomorrow, not later. This is the kind of twist that deserves your voice. Share this video with that one friend who thinks F1 is just about lap times, because as we've just seen, the real game, it's played in shadows. And don't forget to subscribe, because if this is what's happening before the season even starts, imagine what's coming next.